After the collapse of the USSR, the most dangerous and secret facilities were blown up, mothballed, and evacuated, while many others were simply abandoned. They were left to rust. After all, the economy of most of the newfound states simply could not afford to maintain them, and no one needed them. This video is about some of them. A secret complex on the Aral Sea. During Soviet times, on an island in the middle of the Aral Sea there was a complex of military bioengineering institutes engaged in the development and testing of biological weapons. This was an object of such a degree of secrecy that most of the employees who were involved in the infrastructure of the site simply did not know where they worked. The island itself was home to the institute's buildings and laboratories, vivariums, and equipment storage facilities. In the town for researchers and military were created very comfortable conditions for living in complete autonomy. The island was carefully guarded by the military on land and at sea. In 1992 the whole site was urgently mothballed and abandoned by all the inhabitants, including the site guards. For some time it remained a ghost town until it was scouted by looters who for more than 20 years removed from the island all that was abandoned there. The fate of the secret research carried out on the island and its results, cultures of deadly microorganisms, is still a mystery. The superpowered Russian woodpecker. Over-the-horizon radar station Duga is a radar station created in the USSR for the early detection of launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles by launch flares, based on the reflection of radiation by the ionosphere. This giant structure was under construction for 5 years and was completed in 1985. Cyclopean antenna 150 meters high and 800 meters long consumed a huge amount of electricity, so it was built near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The station was called the Russian woodpecker for the characteristic knocking sound it made during operation. The facility was built for the ages and could have functioned successfully to this day, but in reality the Duga radar worked for less than a year. The facility ceased operation after the explosion of the CHNPP. Dvina missile complex. Quite near to the capital of Latvia in the forest are the remains of missile complex Dvina. Built in 1964, the object consisted of 4 launch pits about 35 meters deep and underground bunkers. Much of the premises are now flooded, and it is not recommended to visit the launcher without an experienced stalker guide. Residues of the poisonous rocket fuel, heptyl, reportedly remaining in the depths of the launch shafts, also pose a danger. Exactly the same mines were placed in Transcarpathia, in the areas of the cities of Stry and Brody, near Kostroma, near Kozulsk, and in other areas of the country. Well to Hell or the Kola Super Deep Well. The Kola Super Deep Well is 12,262 meters. It is located in the Murmansk region, 10 kilometers west of the town of Zapolyarny. The well was drilled in the northeastern part of the Baltic Shield exclusively for research purposes in the place where the lower boundary of the Earth's crust comes close to the surface. In the best years, 16 research laboratories worked at the Kola Super Deep Well. They were supervised personally by the Minister of Geology of the USSR. Many interesting discoveries were made at the well, such as the fact that life on Earth appeared 1.5 billion years earlier than expected. At depths where it was thought that there is no, and cannot be organic, found 14 species of fossilized microorganisms. The age of the deep layers exceeded 2.8 billion years. In 2008, the facility was abandoned, the equipment was dismantled, and the building began to collapse. As of 2010 the well is mothballed and is gradually being destroyed. The cost of restoration is several hundred million rubles. The Kola ultra-deep well is associated with many improbable legends about a well to hell from the bottom of which one hears the cries of sinners and the drill bits are melted by the flames of hell. Oil Rocks is a seaside town of oil producers on the Caspian Sea. This settlement on trestles standing directly in the Caspian Sea is listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's oldest oil platforms. It was built in 1949 in connection with the beginning of oil extraction from the seabed around the Black Rocks, a ridge of rock barely protruding from the surface of the sea. Here are the derricks, connected by trestles, on which the oilfield workers' settlement is located. The settlement grew, and in its heyday included power plants, 9-story dormitory buildings, a hospital, a cultural center, a park with trees, a bakery, a lemonade factory, and even a mosque with a full-time mullah. The length of the flyover streets and alleys of the maritime city reaches 350 kilometers. There was no permanent population in the city, and up to 2,000 people lived there as part of the shifts. The period of decline of oil rocks began with the advent of cheaper Siberian oil, which made offshore production unprofitable. However, the seaside town did not become a ghost town. In the early 2000s, major overhaul work began there, and even the laying of new wells began. The failed Soviet collider. Near the town of Protvino, in the Moscow region, there is a giant unfinished and now abandoned elementary particle gas pedal. The science center near Moscow, Protvino, was in Soviet times a city of nuclear physicists, a powerful complex of physics institutes that attracted scientists from all over the world. A 21-kilometer-long circular tunnel was built, lying at a depth of 60 meters. It is still located near Protvino. In ready-made tunnel gas pedal even began to be imported new equipment, but then came a series of political upheavals in the 90s, and the domestic Hadron Collider and remained empty, unassembled. Institutes in Protvino at least somehow maintain a satisfactory condition of the tunnel and empty dark ring under the ground. The lighting system works there, and there is a working branch of the narrow-gauge railroad. All sorts of commercial projects like an underground amusement park or even a mushroom farm have been proposed. But scientists are not giving this object to businessmen just yet. They hope for the best. Underwater shelter of submarines. According to people in the know, this top-secret submarine base, codenamed Object 221 in Balaclava, was a transit point where submarines, including nuclear ones, were repaired, refueled and ammunition replenished. It was a giant complex built for the ages, capable of withstanding a nuclear strike. Up to 14 submarines could be simultaneously accommodated under its vaults. This military base was built in 1961 and abandoned in 1993, after which it was dismantled to pieces by local residents. In 2002 it was decided to arrange a museum complex on the ruins of the base, but so far the case went no further than words. However, local diggers willingly take everyone who wants to go there. From 1992 to 1998, they tried to find a peaceful use for the bunker. They wanted to locate an enterprise for bottling mineral water or alcoholic beverages in Ulsu. In particular, there were sensible judgments about the prospects of converting Object 221 into a winery. But, apparently, small kickbacks were offered. There are legends among local residents that in the mid-90s the underground of the facility was used for training by fighters of Podinev's organized crime group. To date, all the metal has been cut and removed from the facility, and it is slowly dying inside the once solid rock massif. Subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. Give it a thumbs up. Tell us interesting facts you know about the topic of this video. See you in new videos.